So this video isn't going to come out tomorrow. It's actually going to come out the day after, but I can't check Twitter because I'm trying to get my first reaction, first impression without any outside information about it or anything like that. And that's all that Twitter is right now. So I gotta kind of record this now so that I can go back to doom scrolling. So patch notes are out for version 6.0 for chill season. The release date here will be when it can be downloaded, but that will not be when it actually goes live on the servers. That'll be December 1st in Japan, which means 7 p.m. Eastern? Something like that on the 30th. Okay, so data relating to chill season out of the game. So new catalog, yeah, new battle stage, Robo Ramen. So we saw that one in the Chirpy Chips trailer. And then Bluefin, we've seen a little bit better now that we've got the triple splashdown trailer out. But still don't really have a great overhead for that. 2 new specials, that's splatter color screen and triple splashdown. 9 new existing main weapons paired with different, so 9 new kits. No new main weapons, just the new special weapons. And only 9 kits, that's kind of low. But then they've got a couple of new King Salmonids, so I guess that's cool for the Salmon Run players. Or, sorry, not 2 new, just 1 new, Megalodontia. Is that for, dentistry? Is it referring to its teeth? Is that literally just big teeth? That might be. And new table turf cards. Players will now be able to obtain a Sheldon license at the end of each season. Just 1? Is this really necessary? I don't know, man. Maybe playing the game casually, you don't get as many of these, but I've got over 100 or something like that. I don't feel like it's super difficult to get those unless you're really trying to hard one-trick something. But anyway. Multiplayer, 2 new songs. Only 2? Have we heard all of the Chirpy Chips? No, there was supposed to be more Chirpy Chips. Sniff. Okay. So triple splashdown, splatter color screen. Knew about those already. There's not going to be new information about those. New kits. We knew about those as well. Pretty sure we knew about all those. Yeah, we knew about all those. Okay. Nothing new there. So, main weapon changes. 96. Reduced ink consumption. I don't feel like this weapon needed that. People are already running 96 Deco at top level. 96 Deco is just better now. Okay. And still nothing on the Splattershot Pro. So the Squeezer exists. 96 Deco is now better. Why would you want to pick the Splattershot Pro now? Ugh. Range Blaster, increased radius of ink splatter at the point of impact with the floor or wall. So it just is a painting buff for the Range Blaster. And the Range Blaster has also been seeing some use, at least. Not a ton of it, but it's definitely being splashed on certain map modes. So again, a weapon that I don't feel like needed the buff, but okay. Dreadringer. Okay, we haven't been seeing a lot of Dreadringer, but I feel like that's mostly because of its kit. Reduce the amount of ink consumed. So that's going to be a pretty big painting buff as well as just survivability and everything for it. Again, I think the thing that's holding this back is not the main weapon, it's the kit. So the fact that the main weapon is better now seems kind of unnecessary. I feel like all you needed to do is put a different kit on it and it would probably see some use. And heavy edit. Increase the number of spray droplets created by shots. Spray droplets created by shots. So they think this is a painting buff as well, which means, I guess, heavy edit has been pretty hard outclassed by Snipe Rider. So maybe the idea is they're trying to give it something to, compete with the Snipe Rider. I don't think that's going to work because I think the big problem with Heavy Edit right now is that it has no poking tool whatsoever. And it's not super long range either compared to the other anchors. So it's still going to get zoned out really hard, and all it's going to really be able to do is paint for special. Whereas Sniper Rider still paints insanely well, but will also be able to like fight people, get chip damage for its teammates to follow up on, stuff like that. So I don't think that that's really significant. What? I'm so curious why these particular weapons are the ones that are getting attention. There are so many other things that they could be doing with these buffs that I think would have a much more significant impact on the game for the positive. Like, I want a paintbrush buff. Speaking of something that we've just talked about very recently, like, get rid of some of that startup time on the first swing, and now we've got a better weapon, right? So this is strange, but we'll move on from there. Reef Slider, please buff this. Please buff it. After activation, players become invulnerable to damage faster than before. That is exactly what Reef Slider needs. Like, that's the kind of buff that it needs. Is that enough? I don't know. But that, it was either you gotta make it invincible faster, so it's more of a panic button, or you've got to make it actionable sooner so that you can disengage from the explosion and not just insta-die. You needed one of those two things. They gave it one of them. This is a step in the right direction. That's a very good buff. Is it enough? Again, I don't know. We'll have to see. They buffed points for special on Jet Squelcher? Why? This is already a painting weapon. It only had 190. What was the point of that? Is it getting outclassed by some other vac weapon right now? I'm baffled by why that, of all things, is what they're trying to address. And then the buff to L3, I mean, okay, cool. Like, the crab is the best part of that weapon's kit, but the main weapon is what's holding it back, so this won't really change anything. Some of these changes, man, I just don't know where they're coming from on them. Changes to Anarchy Battles. At the end of the series, players' total number of 5 win streaks will be displayed as 5 wins in a row alongside a count. So if you finish a ticket without losing once, then that's getting recorded, it sounds like, and it's getting displayed alongside the count here. Number will reset to 0 when the players reset their rank, finish the series with 3 losses, attempt to rank a battle over the season changes. Okay, so it's like a stretch goal to just not lose games. I feel like that's going to be kind of frustrating to work toward, because solo queue is just inherently volatile. There are going to be some... I had a game earlier today where my teammates were 2 splooshes and a Hydra. It's like, that's not a really great comp for pushing the enemy team. You would really like for there to be someone more there who's able to run at someone. Sometimes you're just going to get comps like that, and it's going to be really hard to win that game. Like, way more so than the game thinks it's going to be, because the game is only taking into consideration the players' numbers, the players' glyco power when pairing them up, as long as it can get pretty close on, like, comp parity. But sometimes it's really bad at that. So, I don't know. This doesn't feel like it's going to be especially compelling, except for maybe some content farmers to just be able to, show their win streaks. Especially since, like, series is definitely not the more serious of the modes between Anarchy and X battles. So, I don't know what difference that's going to make, but, I mean, it's something to mess around with a little bit. On the screens where players from both teams appear at the start of an Anarchy series, a symbol corresponding to the number of 5 win streaks the players have achieved. So yeah, it's a flex. And you get badges for 5 win streaks. Okay, so the badge completionists have more work to do. If there are such people. Are there people who are going after that? I actually legitimately have no idea. Changes to X battles. Matchmaking has changed. Making it possible to form battles with additional weapon combinations. That is a thing that did need addressing. Immediately after the update to version 6.0. Players with an X power of less than 2,000 and players with X power of 2,000 or higher will no longer be matched together. Okay. That is also a positive change. And I don't think that's really going to screw up lobbies for, like, 2,000 and higher is still a pretty substantial number of players. But, okay. Because that's also something that's been a complaint that, like, you can be a top-level player and just randomly get someone who's, like, really new, competitively speaking, in an X-Power lobby. It is nowhere near as difficult a bar to clear to get into X-Power as it was in Splatoon 2. And if you're getting matched up with people who are just, like, way below your skill level, that can be frustrating and make you feel like not investing in that system. So that's interesting. I'm curious what they mean by additional weapon combinations. Like, it's not like there was, like, some set finite number of possible combinations, was there? Did they just hard code that sort of thing in? I don't feel like that's how that worked. I'm curious what that means exactly. Increased the minimum range that X power can change when battles are finished. So, interesting. So there's a minimum of, I think, 10 points currently. And they've increased that. And the change in players' X power will now be based on both what their X power was before the battles and their win-loss ratio during them. Both what the X power was before the battles and the win-loss ratio during them. I'm not seeing what this is what is different about this, just from reading it there. Maybe I'll read something later or reread it and it'll click. Change will be applied to battles started chill. Will not apply to drizzle season. Yeah, okay. Minimum range of X power changes. Okay, so it's more volatile the lower you are. This is what's going to apply to the vast majority of people. So, guaranteed minimum change of 25 points, and then depending on what happens, guaranteed minimum of, like, this. So, that's substantial. And then once you get to 3k X power, it's going to decrease drastically. Interesting. I guess this caps it so that you can't just, like, have one bad session at a really high X power and drop, like, 200 points. Oh, wait, no, this is the minimum change. Okay. So the maximum is still higher. Yeah, okay, so that doesn't fix that at all. That still makes that possible. Do I like this? I think the added volatility, like, can make it feel a little bit more like it means something, but it also probably spreads out the field a little bit more. Probably creates a greater range of X powers. I don't know how good that's going to be for matchmaking. I hope maybe they've, like, made it so that you can match with a slightly higher range of players, even though they've, like, reduced... they've basically cut the X power groups in two here. I want to see some opinions on this and kind of think through it and consider them. Badges for reaching X power of 2k. Okay. That's a very manageable goal. That's something that I think, if you play for long enough, the vast majority of players are capable of doing that. Badges that players can unlock based on win streaks. Badges based on X ranking at the end of the season. Oh, okay, so you get badges for, like, top 10 and stuff now. Cool. That's That is going to be a nice flex for those top level players who are able to hit in these kinds of areas. Starting with chill season. Okay, so that'll be end of season, so you're not going to get this for drizzle season. First time the player meets conditions to obtain one of the X Battle badges. Design will change depending on whether the player was part of Takaroka or the Tentatech division. Okay. So it sounds like you could theoretically get a badge for both Takaroka and Tentatech, just depending on which one you choose in a given season. I wonder if people are going to switch just to be able to do that. Okay, Salmon Run. Kraken and Triple Splashdown are now available in Salmon Run. So that's new content for them. That'll add some new strats and stuff. So that's cool. Conditions for the provision of special weapons have been adjusted such that at least 2 of the following weapons, which can attack salmonids at a distance, will always be provided. Okay. So you're always going to have a ranged special. I wonder if that was a thing that people were asking for, or if that was just something the devs came up with. Big Run. Score required for obtaining the decorations will be predetermined for each occurrence and will be announced at the start of each Big Run. Yeah, this is an interesting decision. There's been a lot of argument about the requirements being based on outcompeting other human players versus just hitting a quota of some kind. I personally, if the game were made for me, I would want it to be based on human players. But I get it if people don't, because like Salmon Run is fundamentally a cooperative mode, right? And so I feel like a lot of people who are going to play it are people who may not want it to be competitive, who may not want to be compared to others, who just kind of want to do the best they can and not have to worry about who else is doing better than them, sort of thing. Because I've gone on record, I've made a video saying that I think it's really, really weenie of people to be getting upset at overfishers for doing really well and, ostensibly, this isn't really how it works, but ostensibly pulling up the number of eggs that you need to hit the gold by a lot. Because realistically, the overfishers are not that big of a part of the community to the point where it's not as big of an investment as it looks like when you watch, someone like Brian just hitting world records. Like, sure, that's impressive, but that's a huge outlier, and it's not going to have a really significant impact at all on. There just aren't that many people that are doing that to bring the average up. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see what people think. I've seen some people expressing disappointment, but also I feel like this might make it more palatable for the casual audience. That they know what mark they have to hit from the beginning. It's not like it surprises them or something. It'll feel like something that isn't being ruined for them by other people, except for the devs, I guess, and how they said it. And yeah, I mean, everyone's always going to be angry at the devs. That's fine. They can take it. In normal jobs, the player has a badge that corresponds to a stage after the switch. They will now start with a higher job title than before. Has a badge that corresponds to a stage after the switch. Now start with a higher job title than before. I don't know what that means in this context, and I don't know what this means in this context. Gold badge, silver badge, bronze badge. Job title at the start. This is something I probably need explained to me. I don't really understand what that means. Type of king salmonid will now display in the stage information. Okay, cool. Shape of the salmon meter will now change based on the type of king salmonid. Cool. So it's not just going to be Kohazun anymore. It's going to be whichever one you get. So that's some good UI, just letting you know here's what you're going to be up against there, what to prepare for. When replaying job scenarios, players targeted during rush or killer waves will now be replicated. Okay, cool. So you actually can go in knowing who it is that's going to be targeted each time. That'll be really cool for extra work. That allows you a lot more coordination. Changes to Splatfests. Matchmaking for Pro has been changed, making it possible to form battles with new weapons. Okay, so same change, presumably, that was made in X. Changes to Table Turf. Deck names and total number of spaces will now display on the screens with they select a deck to use in battle. Ooh, okay, so you're going to need to disguise your deck names now. You can't just... I'm not sure if I like that, because that could give away your strategy on the way in. Unless it's just for you. Maybe that's just for you. That might just be for you. Changes to the lobby. Players who have obtained all the weapons currently available will now be able to exchange extra Sheldon licenses for shell-out tokens. Let's go! Finally, we have something to do with my 100 Sheldon licenses. Okay. And so the extra Sheldon license at the end of like every season or something is just a free shell-out token now. Nice. All right. That makes sense. So you accumulate a bunch of Sheldon licenses in the process of... Oh. This is gonna be like one of those like free-to-play battle pass type deals where you need to like make sure that you have enough at the end of the season to buy all the new weapons. So you don't want to spend all of them on gambling. But it might make it so that later on you have to spend more time unlocking them. Okay, there's going to be some strategy to that. Added a feature that displays information such as changes in the tides of battle in graph form? I'm very curious what data they're deciding to represent here while watching a replay. Displayed by pressing the R button. Can we get special charge, perhaps? Can we get KA? KD? Can we get, like, some information about that on that screen? Can we make it so that you can have the map screen open while the replay goes? Those are the things I really want. I don't know what this graph thing is about, and maybe that's going to be useful, but, like, I'd rather have those things first. Changes to Splatnet. Players can get turf inked points from Salmon Run. Oh, yeah, I forgot about Krusty Sean's Wandercrust Tour. That's a feature that exists in this game. Another Wandercrust Tour journey. Type of salmonid that will appear will be displayed. Yeah, shape of salmonid. Top 20% in Big Run. It is now possible to confirm what stats, what percentile that score corresponds to. Okay, so once you hit top 20%, it tells you what your percentage is exactly. Cool. That'll be nice. That'll give, again, for the upper level players, you want to give them a sense of stratification so that they have something to work toward. They can set their goals and stuff, and that's a pretty good way to do it. Adding features to Chill Season. Yep, for sure. X battles. Yep. Okay. I'll check the bug fixes real quick. Just skim through them to see if there's anything that I find interesting. All right. Nothing super significant there. So there's new content being added. I'll be real with you. I don't get any of this. I don't know why any of this was important. I don't think this will have like a really huge impact on any of the weapons that really needed buffs. I don't think these weapons needed buffs. I think they were doing fine. And I don't think these weapons are going to be picked up more because of these buffs, because there are other problems with the weapons. So this is just a complete bust to me. I don't see what any of that is really doing. This is possibly the best thing that they've done in the patch, buffing Reef Slider. It is desperately needed. It has been the worst special in the game for a while now, and I still don't know if this is going to be enough, but it's going to be better, and that's at least a step in the right direction. These are weird and irrelevant. I guess Jet Squelcher was seeing some use for VAC, and so we'll probably see more of it. I don't know why they thought they needed to do that. The big things are probably, besides the extra content being put in, obviously, I think that's the biggest difference. But the changes to matchmaking is very interesting and is worth experimenting with. That could really change the way that the game plays in a solo context. But I think, personally, I find the metagame to be more healthy right now than a lot of other analysts have been saying. Like, I've been hearing a lot of people say that, like, something feels off. It's like it's balanced, but it's not healthy. I don't know. I think it's fine right now. I like that you can run so many different things. I like that people who can play so many different weapons have a place in the game right now. I have yet to be convinced by the conversations I have had that it's in a bad place. So it's not the worst thing in the world for not much to change in that respect. I think these weapons are going to be the big question marks. And the new stages, I guess. The stages matter, but there are already a lot of stages, and if they're bad, we can just go back to other ones. But these are the things that, if the meta is going to change, it's going to be in part as a result of these things. Like, Stamper with Crab Tank is insane. That is a really powerful weapon right there. That is immediate consideration from every team that has ever run a Stamper. Maybe some that haven't. The S-Blast, like, anyone who's ever been trying to run a blaster is immediately going to be considering that. So those are two really big deals. Squeezer players are probably going to mess with this at least. We don't know how good the screen is, but if the screen is good, then that foil squeezer is going to be insane. It has a bomb now, and it's squeezer. What more could you ask for? So yeah, if that special's solid, even just kind of decent, then that foil squeezer will probably see use. If the triple splashdown is better than we think it will be, we could also see end parries. End parries meta in Splatoon 2 took a pretty long time to get rid of, really. It was just one of the fastest moving weapons in the game, and it was able to get to places that other weapons couldn't, and then be a threat in a fight once it got there. You see at the beginning of my video from, I think, yesterday, very first thing that I do in a game on end parries in that Splatoon 2 match is beeline to mid, and I just immediately get 2 splats, and now I have an inkjet in their base. Like, that's kind of how that thing worked. And if that ends up being, something like what it used to be, that could also be worth considering. I'm just not super convinced that triple splashdown is going to be better than an inkjet in that context. And also, I miss inkjet. I am sad. The others, Custom Blaster, it would be nice if it had a bomb, but it's not the worst thing that it doesn't. The point sensor is definitely helpful for being able to hit people around walls. I don't know. It could see some use too. Especially, again, if triple splashdown ends up being pretty good. The undercover umbrella is a better undercover kit than we've had. So, like, these are the things that are going to change the game. I don't know how much they're going to change it. I think the biggest thing would be if this weapon ends up being polarizing, if, like, you need to run this weapon, then that will change how team comps work, because now you have a crab tank already. So what do we need besides the crab tank, and what do we need besides that kind of mid to long range zoning weapon on the comp? How do we account for the lack of lethal bomb with the toxic mist here? Things are going to be picked based on how well they slot into that kind of idea. So if that becomes polarizing, then that's the sort of effect that these things could have. I'm optimistic that not an awful lot is going to change about the fact that the meta is not super defined right now. I don't think that the Neo Stamper, it's strong. Like, the individual parts of the Stamper and the Crab are strong. The Toxic Mist has some synergy, but it's not like as if you were to give it like burst bomb and crab tank. There are definitely some significant weaknesses to especially the sub weapon there. So I don't know how dominant it's going to be in that respect, but we'll see. It'll definitely make the combo easier if someone's stuck in mist, but um, I don't know. It almost feels like if you hit them with the mist, why not just hit them with the shot and then hit them with the horizontal? That's a big hitbox. Yeah. Yeah, not super happy with like some of the lack of buffs to weapons that needed them. Reef Slider being the one exception there. Like these weapon changes are not great, but I guess their attention was going towards changing up the ranked system. And I think that the success or failure of the patch in our eyes is largely going to be based on whether these things make it more fun to play solo queue. Um, I think it is important that they focus on the solo queue experience. That is the way that a lot of people experience the game. It is kind of the primary game mode that the game is designed for. So even though as competitive players we're more interested in what's happening in scrims and tournaments, this is really helpful for the health of the game. For people who don't have a team yet or don't have access or familiarity with Sendu queue, for them to be able to get the kind of practice that gets them up to that competitive level. This is a really important part of our pipeline. So if they're maintaining it well, then this will be a really positive change for the game. And if this ends up not being a huge difference or causing something negative to happen, then that's really bad for the game because they spent a lot of time and resources on doing this. And if it didn't get something out of it that makes up for these kinds of things, then I think a lot of people might decide, I'm not really interested in playing solo that much anymore, and leave from there. So, the new content is definitely interesting, and I'm excited for that stuff. I don't think there was much else to really be super happy about besides from my perspective. And again, my perspective does not have to be your perspective. This is just me as a competitive player and not much else. So that's where I'm at. Now I can go back on Twitter.